What's going on, everyone? With the return of Dennis Schroeder, it's really going to open up a lot of potential for trades in the coming weeks or so, right? Because now Dennis Schroeder's back. If he can provide that defense and that scoring, then that immediately makes Patrick Beverley and Kendrick Nunn expendable, right? Kendrick Nunn did have a pretty solid game. I mean, he shot perfect from the field, but is that an anomaly? Or is that him kind of turning things around and becoming, getting back into the swing of things? Because Kendrick Nunn was a real acquisition. Like, many people were really excited, myself included. I was really hyped for Kendrick Nunn being a Laker, him returning this year, and I thought he could be a real key contributor. But so far this season, he has just been terrible. And to the point where he's essentially unplayable. But last game, he kind of turned it around. He was putting in some extra work during the extended break. So hopefully that could be a nice little boost for the Lakers. But even then, at this point, it's like he's one of the expendable pieces just because we have so many guards with Dennis Schroeder, Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is obviously the big key piece that could get us, a multitude of players. And Patrick Beverley has been just terrible. I mean, his defensive side has been okay. He's been solid, but we are actually better on both sides of the ball when Patrick Beverley isn't playing. He's shooting like 23% from the field. He's been a liability out there, and he's like fifth in usage on this team at like 28 minutes a game. So that doesn't really help either. So getting out Patrick Beverley, who is our second largest contract next to Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn, packaging them can get us a nice return. Russell Westbrook could get us the big return. Or you could work something out to basically move off of all three of these guys and get several pieces, right? Right off the bat, I personally think the Spurs deal is the best deal just because of what you can get in that package. Not only could you get a combination of these three of like a Jakob Poeltl, Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, and like a $13-14 million trade exception. If you don't want Jakob Poeltl, you could still get like a $21 million trade exception, which then gets you another piece. So the Spurs deal is essentially the one deal that could give you a whole roster rehaul, right? Like you could turn Russell Westbrook into like 3 or 4 players. Problem is if you get 3 or 4 players, you gotta unload 3 or 4 guys, right? You're basically trading a 3 for 1. The Lakers roster is already full. Our only non-guaranteed contracts are Matt Ryan, Wenyen Gabriel, and Austin Reeves. You're not getting rid of Austin Reeves. You're not getting rid of Wenyen Gabriel. He's been great for us. Both of them have been. And so that leaves Matt Ryan. But still, you need to figure something out. And that's where a Patrick Beverley and Kendrick Nunn would come in. And with the Spurs trade allows you to gain leverage to then go do other moves. I mean, ideally, you want to get the Spurs deal done with only one first, which isn't out of the realm of possibility. I mean, obviously, the Spurs are going to demand both first, just like all teams are, but hopefully you can find a happy medium, maybe give up a first, maybe like a pick swap, couple seconds, something like that. Because in reality, all these guys are expiring deals, and there's no guarantee any of them will stay, right? They could just leave, and now the Lakers are in trouble. So there is that part. Also, you're helping the Spurs tank. The Spurs aren't very good. They're clearly trying to lose games, tank for Victor Wembanyama. So you have that to your advantage as well. And so if you could work out a deal to get this done and maintain one first, then that opens the door and the possibility. And something that I've mentioned in the past is leveraging the Spurs deal to go get the Pacers deal, because the Pacers deal is a deal that many people think is the best. Buddy Hield and Myles Turner have been playing great this season. Absolutely. But there's a lot of concerns with Buddy Hield and Myles Turner. One, they're kind of like the number 1 and number 2 option right now on the Pacers. They're going to go from that to like the number 3, number 4 option. So their production is going to go down. Myles Turner and Anthony Davis, will they work together? Anthony Davis hasn't really been knocking down shots on the perimeter. And if he's not knocking down shots, it makes him hard to play the 4 spot, right? Because if all of his points are at the rim still, then why are you having Myles Turner play center at all, right? And Myles Turner, he's still, yes, he can spread the floor. He's still great at shooting the ball for a big man, but still, he's most effective in like that mid-range, like in the painted area. Plus, defensively, they'd have a great front court. But here's my big concern: is that say our starting 5. Let's say we do the Pacers deal, right? And our starting 5 is Walker, Buddy Hield, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Myles Turner. On paper, that is an incredible starting 5. But who's guarding the perimeter? Seriously. So Walker's going to guard the best player on the other team. That's just what he's been doing all season. That's probably what he'll continue to do. Buddy Hield is a terrible defender, and now you're putting a ton of pressure on LeBron James to be a great perimeter defender at his age, at 38, who's already dealing with injuries. It's a lot to put on him, plus giving the scoring output, running the offense, because now he's basically your point guard. It's just so much you're putting on LeBron James. Anthony Davis, he can guard the perimeter in spots, but not 38 minutes a game or whatever he ends up playing, right? And Myles Turner, he can't guard the perimeter. Again, they could switch on like a pick and roll and stuff like that, but that's not the same thing as actually having to get out on the perimeter and guard smaller players. It's hard to do. And so that's always been my big concern. But if you could leverage the Spurs deal into the Pacers deal, well, now you have that depth and you have those players that can come in and you could kind of run different sets. Like you could have, let's say you get Josh Richardson, right? You could have a Walker, Richardson, LeBron, Davis, and Turner starting five. So now you got two guys on the perimeter that can chase, the two best players on the other team, and then LeBron can guard kind of like that. There's every team has like that one guy that just pretty much just stands in the corner and shoots. LeBron can guard that guy. Davis and Turner are your low post threats, like all of those things. Like now you have a more balanced starting five. Although Buddy Hield's shooting would be great, still you could work different interchangeable lineups. So if the Lakers could work out a deal to leverage the Spurs deal into the Pacers deal, then now that opens so much for the Lakers. And the way that they could do that is with the Spurs deal, right? The Pacers want both 2 first-round picks, right? The deal that almost got done right before media day was Russell Westbrook, 2 first-round picks, right? Because the Pacers are looking at it as like, hey, we're just taking Russ to buy him out. Like we need first for these guys, right? And so what if you could send Russ to the Spurs for Jakob Poeltl, Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, right? And then you'll probably have to include, like I said, a pick swap, maybe a couple seconds. Lakers have all their seconds, so they can basically give their seconds away. But you basically do a first, a pick swap, and then, a couple seconds. There you go. You get Jakob Poeltl, Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott. You'd also get about a $13 million trade exception. Then what you do is you would take Patrick Beverley and Kendrick Nunn, send them to the Pacers, along with Jakob Poeltl and the other first and whatever else, couple seconds, something like that. This would make a lot more sense for the Pacers because now you're not just waiving guys just to waive guys and getting nothing else in return but assets. Yes, they would likely waive Kendrick Nunn and Patrick Beverley, but instead of waiving $47 million, now you're waiving $18 million. You move off of Buddy Hield's long-term salary, which is good. You get to go back into like the tank mode, which you were planning on in the beginning of the season. But even if you don't, you have a replacement for Myles Turner. They're roughly the same age. They give roughly the same output. Career-wise at least. He's not the shooter that Myles Turner is and just the shot blocker, but he is very solid. He's a great passer, all of those things. He's a low post threat. He's closer to like a Sabonis than he is a Myles Turner, but still, he's a guy that can come in, play your center spot for a while, for at least this season. If you want to re-sign him, you can re-sign him. If not, you could just let him go, clear off the cap space. You also get some assets because that's ultimately what the Pacers want. The Pacers want to move off of Buddy Hield's salary, and they want to get something for Myles Turner because they know Myles Turner is leaving at the end of the year. So if you could get, a first and like a Jakob Poeltl at least for this season, or if you like him and he's good, well, then you can re-sign him. Now you have him for, however many years at whatever price. And he's probably a lot cheaper than Myles Turner, right? Like Myles Turner wants 20 plus million a year. Jakob Poeltl's probably in like the 15 to 18 million range. And so you'd save money on that end. You could give him a shorter deal, a longer deal, whatever you want to do, or you could just let him go. Now you got all that cap space. You got everything you need to start this rebuild, this retool, and all your young guys. I just think that this would make more sense for the Spurs. You could even work out something to where, you're giving up, maybe use the trade exception to take like Daniel Theis for them. That way, now it's like, okay, well, we're going above and beyond. Because at this point, you're going all in. If you're the Lakers, having to eat Daniel Theis's contract, which the Pacers originally wanted him to, is not as big of a deal now because you basically have Buddy Hield, Myles Turner, Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott. along with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Walker, all these guys. So now you're in all-in mode, right? Now, in this point, you're basically like, hey, like we're pushing all our chips to the table. We don't have any salary space anyway with all these guys. Any trade basically is going to eat up your salary because you're not going to make a trade for anybody. Even the Spurs deal, you're not making the trade for the Spurs deal and then just not letting everybody go. So any trade is going to lock up, your salary space. So there's that. And then in that case, like, okay, like let's take Daniel Tice. We'll take Tice from you as well to kind of like alleviate the burden. So now you're moving off of like all of your salary cap. You're clearing up all your salary space. You're getting a first round pick. You're getting Jakob Poeltl to kind of alleviate the Myles Turner loss. And there you go. Now you still have a center. You still have your team. You're off to the races. And it's a more balanced trade for the Pacers than just Russell Westbrook and 2 firsts. That's why I think this might be a little more enticing to the Pacers than anything else. And if you're the Lakers, I mean, you basically turn Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, Russell Westbrook, and 2 firsts, let's say a pick swap in a couple seconds. Yeah, that's a lot to lose, but you just got a 3-and-D shooting guard, small forward. You just got 2, dead-eye shooters, and you got, a center. All of these guys, basically, this is your team. You got to, at least at the bare minimum, you got a 6-man rotation for the next 3 to 4 years. And then you're just trying to find like a couple guys here and there, like minimum deals, stuff like that, your mid-levels and stuff to kind of round out to get you at just another like 2 or 3 guys, right? Now you have this year's team would be insanely deep. I mean, not only could you have, like I said, a starting 5 of Walker, Richardson, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Myles Turner, but you still have Dennis Schroeder, Doug McDermott, Buddy Hield, Austin Reeves, Troy Brown, Thomas Bryant, Wenyen Gabriel. I mean, now you're legit like one of, if not the deepest teams in the league. You have shooting, you have defense, you have scoring, you have probably the best front court in the league, especially at least defensively, right? And so this is a much more balanced roster. This is a better overall roster, and just I think that this would be something for everybody. Like the Spurs, they get their assets for their guys to unload their guys, which is the whole point, right? They want to tank. They're in full tank mode. Let's go unload the guys that are causing us to win. Keep the young guys. Let the young guys, get a bunch of experience and a bunch of time played. We get a couple assets in the process, and then you take some of those acquisitions for the Lakers, reroute those to the Pacers. You get the Pacers deal. They're moving off of Buddy Hield's long-term salary. Like I said, worst case, you take Daniel Tice at that point, and then you have Buddy Hield, and then now you don't really have to worry about like who to waive, who to go, anything like that, right? You're doing a 3-for-4 swap, but at this point now you don't need Matt Ryan anymore, so you could just waive Matt Ryan, and then there you go. Right, so Matt Ryan gets waived. You don't need Matt Ryan anymore because you got Buddy Hield and Doug McDermott. So there you go. And now you got your 15-man roster, and you're basically 15 guys deep, right? I mean, you're really good. Like your worst player right now would be, Damian Jones. Damian Jones is just, your fodder. Maybe you could move off of Damian Jones. Also, maybe you could send Damian Jones, like say, hey, we'll take Daniel Tice, but we want you to take Damian Jones and move him off the books because he could opt in next year. Daniel Tice, maybe you could work something out later on down the line and just kind of figure that whole mess out. But not just that, but Daniel Tice at least gives you a different look than Damian Jones. So now like all of your big men all kind of just give you a different look, right? You're probably not playing Tice a lot, if at all, but you basically have a 4-man rotation of Anthony Davis, Myles Turner, Wenyen Gabriel, and Thomas Bryant. All 4 of those guys could all play, not at the same time, but they could play together. You know what I mean? Like you could run any different. Like you could run Myles Turner, Wenyen Gabriel. You could run Myles Turner, Thomas Bryant, and Wenyen Gabriel. Like we've seen the 3 guys play together already. You're just adding Myles Turner to that mix, getting 2 dead-eye shooters, Buddy Hield and Doug McDermott. You could try to start Doug McDermott start Buddy Hield, see how that works. Again, I have my concerns on the defensive end, but if it works and it's fine, then cool. No worries. Now you have Josh Richardson coming off the bench, which he's coming off the bench in many cases for the Spurs, and he's putting up like 30 off the bench on a couple occasions. So you got a guy that could come in, that play the bench role. All these guys come from the Spurs pedigree, so they're about team, they're about sharing the ball, they understand how everything works. You got Buddy Hield and Myles Turner coming in and their impact. I just think that this is a better overall team. This also, mediates the risks of a Buddy Hield Myles Turner deal, right? Because the big concern with Myles Turner is the things that I mentioned earlier, like right, the lack of defense, not only the lack of defense or perimeter defense, but will Myles Turner and Buddy Hield work together, or Myles Turner and Anthony Davis work together? If they don't, then you can kind of work that out. Worst case, Myles Turner leaves, but you still have, a solid 5-guy rotation. You got 2 shooters, you got a wing defender. At that point, maybe you could work out to keep Walker somehow, some way. Maybe go get, re-sign Thomas Bryant, something like that. It gives you more potential to work things out. And I do think that this would be a better deal. But to give you kind of an overview, just so you could kind of see, this is what the deal would basically look like. This is the deal that I'm talking about. So basically, Patrick Beverley, Jakob Poeltl, Kendrick Nunn go to the Pacers. San Antonio gets Russell Westbrook. Lakers end up Buddy Hield, Myles Turner, Doug McDermott, Josh Richardson. And then obviously the picks and all that stuff would have to be worked out. And this is a deal that can realistically be done. The Lakers, I don't know if they'll be able to do this all in like a 3-team deal, because 3-team deals are very hard. And then when one team why are they getting more? Why are they, like, when it's like, oh, this is all I have left, so take it or leave it. Teams kind of are like, okay, well, the Pacers could be like, well, why do the Spurs get this and we don't? We want this, and now the negotiations just become a lot harder, where it's easier to just go do the Spurs deal, get the Spurs deal done, take those assets from the Spurs deal, and then figure that out with the Pacers. That's probably what would end up happening. But this is just a way to kind of work it all in one deal, one swoop, one trade. Lakers get that roster turnover that they really need. They move off of 2 guys that aren't being very effective. You're losing Russ and his production and him coming off the bench, but you're getting so much production in 4 guys. You're getting 4 legit starting rotation guys, which the Lakers really need. This bolsters their starting lineup. This bolsters their bench. This does a little bit of everything. But this is essentially bird's eye view of what it would look like. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think of this? Would you love to see this get done? Would you not? However you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. Let me know down in the comment section below.